Good morning. Good morning. That was beautiful, Marva. Thank you. My name is Chuck Bauer, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of this congregation. Welcome to you all. And the mission for our fellowship, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart, is a welcoming community encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual, spiritual, and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. If you would like to learn more about this fellowship, please look at our website at uufe.org and join us after the service for our coffee hour, which is straight through to the far side to the gathering place. For the listening enjoyment of all, we ask you at this time to please turn off your cell phones. And if you need hearing support, please ask for help at our sound desk back here, and Randy or Carl will help you. We don't have any specific announcements today other than that the focus will be coming out in a few days. Please look for some things in that, and let's begin our service.
We had some wilted flowers up here that somebody was conscious enough to take out, but I was thinking that would be a test for our faith this morning, to make them come back. We lost that opportunity. We ring the gong 3 times, once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those who are here now. And once for those who will follow us and build on the dream. The chalice lighting, I took the liberty to use some words from Mariah, or from her and myself. We light the chalice this morning, symbolizing a flame and a fire that has been with us since our entire lives. Whether used metaphorically in literature or literally in scriptural texts, fire touches our lives every day in many ways, provoking fear, awe, attention, warmth, safety, and even destruction. As we worship today, may the flame ignite our faith in new and more meaningful ways, inspiring all of us to grow in our journey of faith and be a light to others. Would you recite with me now the Unison Covenant as printed in the order of service? Love is the spirit of this church, and is this law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. The kids can now be released to RE. Is there somebody to go with them? Okay. Dwight will meet you guys out in the hallway, okay? Thank you, Dwight. Flames of faith since the beginning of time. When I contacted Mariah about today's service, she mentioned Flames of Faith as a possible title for her message. Without knowing the text of her message, my thoughts immediately went to the Old Testament book of the prophet Ezekiel. Chapter 1, verse 4 reads, "As I looked, a stormy wind came out of the north, a great cloud with brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually. And in the middle of the fire, something like gleaming amber." This experience of Ezekiel and any other witnesses must have had an impact on his or their faith. I'll just say that Matthew Henry's commentary is quite interesting, not only about this incident, but the entire book of Ezekiel. There is much that is mysterious, dark, and hard to be understood. In the beginning and the latter end of it, and that's referring to the entire book, therefore, the Jews forbade the reading of it to their entire young men till they came to be 30 years of age, lest by the difficulties they met, they should be prejudiced against the scriptures. That's pretty interesting. Today, that was yesterday. Today, there happens to be a NASA official at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, whose curiosity got the best of him about the encounter of Ezekiel. After studying several translations of the scriptures, Joseph Blumrich came up with this figure. If you can see that, little spaceship. The dimensions of that are in the Bible. He came up with this from the passages. Blumrich asserts that Ezekiel's account in the Bible was not a description of meeting with God in a prophetic vision, but one of several encounters over a span of 20 years with ancient astronauts in a shuttlecraft from another planet. The data and information described in the scriptures is reflected in this image of the book, produced by scientists. Faith in religion is a driving force, I believe, is its driving force. What great stories we all have and have heard through our lifetimes regarding the power of faith. I would certainly be the first in line to accept and listen to those stories. Their truthfulness assures their authenticity from those who have had relative experiences. I read a quote a few weeks ago on a wall at the Racine, I think it's Racine Murphy's at the Art Museum in Notre Dame's campus, how to pronounce it. Here's what it says: every religion on earth is not void of mystery and wonder. Mystery does not scare me because my faith is stimulated by wonder and elements of the unknown. The universe is so vast and is so totally incomprehensible that, in all honesty, humankind has no clue what really happens when we all take our last breath. Now, let's sing and stand if you're willing and able and sing number 20, Be Thou My Vision. There's a short introduction to that, and Marva will play for us. Stand if you're willing and able. Be thou my vision, O God of my heart, not be all else to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life.
This week, the fourth Sunday of the month, we recognize joys and sorrows of our global community. All that is shared today comes from beyond ourselves, whether from the other side of the county or the other side of the world. These events affect us indirectly by impacting the world that we live in. This practice helps keep us mindful of events outside of UUFE and bring our awareness to losses and gifts, pain and beauty from beyond ourselves, and allows us to bear witness. Please raise your hand and briefly speak the event or situation you are calling to our attention from your seat, and I will repeat it into the mic. If you have any questions about what has been shared, please direct them to the speaker after the service. Please do be very brief and hold personal sharings for our third Sundays, and avoid politically charged events that we may each value differently. The wildfires in California, again and still. TJ.
Terrorism of the rail system in Paris, which fortunately is now fixed, but caused a huge disruption for the Olympics.
Yes, the terrorism, the arsonists in Paris at the start of the Olympics. The Olympics, the good thing. The terrorism, the horrible thing. Transportation is back. A good thing. Phyllis.
Oh, this terrible situation in Israel and Lebanon and Gaza.
And the recent rocket on, I'm sorry.
The war that's going on.
Yes, I started to say something of my own without repeating yours, and that wasn't nice. Yes, the continued ongoing wars in the Middle East. And just recently, the rocket that landed on an Israeli soccer field and killed 12 young people. The CrowdStrike disaster is now resolved. Carl.
The opportunity to elect our first female president.
The opportunity to elect our first female president. May light and warmth come to all those who both need and bring it. May we be ever growing in our awareness of our world and our care of it. And may we always grow in gratitude for all that we have been given. Amen.
Our offering today is being shared with the Woodlawn Nature Center, and Carl's familiar with that, I think. As you recall, in last spring, Jim Scott came and gave a concert for us. At that time, he introduced a new book that he had written, a songbook with different arrangements of our hymns. Marva was impressed with that and took a copy home with her. So this morning, as we have the offering, she's going to be playing number 347, if you want to follow along in the hymnal, for the words, but it's a different arrangement, so it may not fit with the words. Yes, Phyllis?
There's a copy of one of his songs, or the songs book, the words, in the library.
Right. That's just words only, text only. I got that copy too, but so if you want to follow the words, just hum or something, but if you want to sing, it might get mixed up a couple times with the accompaniment. But I haven't heard it, but we're here to listen to Marva anyway, so thank you. hearing more of those in the future with Marva as we get used to that new book, and we'll incorporate that into our service so you can sing with it. We're so fortunate to have Mariah on a rotating list of speakers, and she's here once again to thrill us and inspire us, whatever, with her words. Thank you, Mariah, and we welcome you.
I hate tornadoes. I guess it would be more accurate to say I am terrified of tornadoes because I don't understand them. What is a tornado watch? What is a tornado warning? What is the difference? Why are they so similar? I have to Google it every single time. I'm scared. I want to go down in the basement, and everyone's like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. You don't need to go down." Oh no, now we actually do have to go downstairs, and you might want to get your bunnies. But no, you can leave your chickens. It's okay. I don't understand tornadoes because I did not grow up around tornadoes. I grew up in Colorado. And what happens in Colorado?
Avalanches?
Well, yes, avalanches / mudslides. I didn't actually think of that one. I was listing all the things that we don't have. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have earthquakes. We do have mudslides. But what happens right before a mudslide? Rain. What happens right before the rain? Fire. Yes, fire. I don't understand all these other natural disasters because I grew up around fires, around forest fires. In fact, there were a few times that I remember my mom having like go bags or evacuation bags ready. We were never actually evacuated for a fire, but we had them ready in case of evacuation. And the one time that this happened, my dad and my sister and I, we were on vacation, and my mom was home, and she called us and she said, "I don't know if I should go or not. She could see from our window, she could see the fire across the river on the mountain, across the valley." And Dad was assuring her, he was like, "Well, it has to jump the river, it's gonna be okay." And she's like, "Lauren, it already has jumped the river." And so, everything was fine, but that was what I grew up around. I grew up around fire. In fact, when I was young, I'm not sure how old I was, there was this horrendous forest fire that was named the Storm King Fire, and it was on Storm King Mountain. And I think if you look up Storm King Fire, you can find like a documentary on it, because it was that significant. 14 firefighters ended up dying in this fire. My dad, amongst other local pastors, led an effort to have quilts given to the families of these forest fires, and it definitely shaped our valley. It shook our valley. And there's a monument in a park. I think I took Nick to it one time, that memorializes these firefighters. So I know how devastating fires can be. Did you notice the first two prayers brought forward in our time were about fires, about forest fires and arson. Fires can take life. Fire is an elemental force that gives life and takes life away. My dad says that if you are lost in the woods, one of the best things you can do is stop and start a little campfire, start a fire. Why? Because if anyone's looking for you, it's better for you to stop and stay in one place anyways. And also, a fire builds morale. You're taking control of the situation, and it's a glimpse of survival. Okay, I can do this. I can live. My parents used to take my sister and I into the woods to cut down our Christmas tree. We had that kind of like Hallmark experience experience of growing up and going out into the woods and cutting down a real Christmas tree. Now we have the plastic ones, but that's okay. And so when we would do this, my dad would challenge us to see who could start a one-match fire first in the snow. And the trick is, if you wanted to know, I don't know if you would ever use this skill, but the trick is to take dry bark from a tree and put it, like dig out the snow so that the dirt is underneath, and then you put the bark there, and so it creates a barrier between the fire and the cold earth. Anyways, so you can just tuck that into your brain for someday. Fires give life, fires take life. The reason I wanted to talk about fire today is because we did a sermon series at Faith Mennonite Church, my congregation, about fire in the Bible. And it started on Pentecost Sunday, which is when the Holy Spirit was poured out on the people of God. God came upon the people in wind and fire, tongues of fire, and which felt very appropriate to start our series of fire on Pentecost Sunday. And so to decorate for Pentecost, we had these 3 fire pots up front. And they had these, it looked so pretty. We had red and oranges and yellow cloth all draped around, and these big fire pots with these big flames. And we're not sure exactly what happened, but the church started on fire. I have this slow-mo video of it if you ever want to see it sometime. It's pretty good. And so the front started on fire. And the thing about fire is that it reveals kind of what your basic nervous system response is to stress or fear. You could look, Nick and I watched this video many, many times because we would watch it and we'd watch a different person each time to see what their reaction was to fire. Did they run forward to help put it out? Did they run forward to help put it out and actually make it worse by fanning the flames? Did they stay put? Were they frozen? We had guests that Sunday, and they just sat and watched this whole thing happen. They didn't move a muscle. Did people run away to go get water or to get out? My co-pastor, Julia, she hates fire, and so you see her at one point, she grabs her purse, she slings it on her shoulder, and she is out of there. She's like, I'm out of here. Fire reveals your response to fear. Do you fight the flames? Do you flight? Do you run away? Do you freeze? During the next 3 Sundays, we had a hard time keeping a straight face whenever we talked about fire because this was burnt into our memories. But we looked at where fire showed up in the Bible. We looked at the burning bush. We didn't actually cover the Ezekiel passage, so that was good. We talked about pillars of fire, how God's presence was in the flames. We talked about chariots of fire and more. And fire most often represents the presence of God in a very real and tangible and felt way. God as a force to be reckoned with. Fire was a way of God saying to God's people, you are not alone. I am with you. And it was also a way of saying, pay attention. Something important is happening here. Something that needs your focus. Fire gives life. Fire takes life, but if nothing else, fire grabs us. It stops us. It forces our attention. It forces our focus. Let me try that again. It forces us to notice. Fire cuts us to the core of what it means to be human and alive and trying to survive on this floating planet in the universe. And that's true whether whether it's when roasting marshmallows over, when the fire has died down a little bit and it's just kind of the embers and they're glittering and sparking. I love that. It's so beautiful. And you're sitting around the fire and you're sharing stories and memories, and around a campfire it's like there's like a layer stripped away, and it allows you to go deeper with the people around you, with creation around you. It's true then, it's true when you're lighting candles at a vigil to remember those that you love, those that you have lost. Fire cuts to the core of who we are when it's contained, when it's purposeful, when it makes us feel safe and warm. And it's also true when fire is untamed, when it's not purposeful, when it's dangerous. I don't share this story very often because I'm a little bit self-conscious about it. But I remember one time when I was working at Rocky Mountain Mennonite Camp, we were on camp out and we were sitting around the fire, and stars were above us. We had just hiked, we were all tired, and I remember feeling this kind of like ache inside of me, like maybe like a loneliness. And I remember distinctly not looking for it, but hearing this voice in my head that said, "Trust me and all will be well." Was it my brain trying to comfort me? I don't know. Was it God? I don't know. But fire does something to open us, to notice that which is around us. Unexpected fire turns on all the alarm bells in our brain and our body. There was one time I was studying at the brew, and all of a sudden my phone was plugged into my computer on the table, and all of a sudden my charge cord started smoking. There was like this plume of smoke, and then it burst into flames, and that's all I remember. I don't remember what happened after that. I'm assuming I put it out. I'm assuming I smothered it. But then I remember looking around and everyone in the brew was looking at me. I was like, I think it's time I went home. But I certainly was paying attention. I was awake after that. If we let it, fire asks us, it begs us, it shows us what matters in life. Are we focusing on what truly matters? Are we awake and paying attention? Fire raises forests. It destroys forests. And at the same time, that forest fire heats up seed pods so that trees, new growth can happen. Are we awake to our own lives? Or do we just go through the motions? It's said that 80% or 90% of our day is just in autopilot. Fire breaks through that. When we are awake, we can look around, we can recognize the vibrancy of life around us. We can be in tune to what lights us on fire, what sparks within our souls. I was talking with my dad. My dad shows up in the sermon a lot. I don't know. Maybe he has a thing for fire. I don't know. I was talking with my dad on the phone, and since my mom has passed, a lot of the light and life in him has kind of guttered out. It reminds me of, when you snuffed out the light with this, whatever that thingy is called. That's kind of how I think of my dad right now. Which is sad because he loves his projects. In fact, he created this DIY cheese smoker out of cardboard and tubing, and yes, it did start on fire, but he put it out. He loves roasting coffee beans, and he would do that in his garage, and yes, that did start on fire one time, but it was fine. a recent hobby. He put away his most recent hobby after mom died, but a family friend called him and asked if he could make a few of, his project for him, make 5. And so he pulled out this passion, this hobby of his. And he said that stepping into this craft again, for the first time in a while, he felt a spark within him. Something flickered inside of him and came back to life. Anyone want to guess what this craft is?
Feeling is to be woodworking.
Close. It's candle making. There is a light in each one of us. Sometimes it's dimmer than other times. But this light, this spark, this fire, it reminds us that we are human, that we are here now. It wakes us up to the vibrancy of life. It makes sure we are paying attention. Something matters here. Something is important. Something is happening. And you are not alone. May it be so. If we have time, I'm curious. We do? Okay. So I have a theory that we all have fire stories within us, whether that's literal of things starting on fire. By the way, the fire that we started in our church was started and stopped in 30 seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. So I'm curious to hear what your fire stories are. Alternatively, my other question is, what is the thing that sparks within you that kind of brings you to life a little bit, whether it's wood burning or candle making or...
Who wants to share first? I don't think this is on. Is it on now? You can hear it? Yes. Okay. Laura.
I wasn't paying attention. I had no idea this was going to be the topic, but rather than go to my 40th high school reunion, I went out to my backyard and in my fire pit made a nice campfire instead, and it was glorious. There is something very calming, or there can be something very calming and primal about sitting around a campfire, tending it. It becomes a living thing, and you need to care for it. And that was one of the most relaxing things I could have done last night, instead of hobnobbing with, folks that I really didn't want to see.
Makes sense.
I guess the thing that kind of gives me light and I enjoy is when I have a task and I get it accomplished. It's that sense of accomplishment that really is just rewarding.
Can I borrow that? I don't have that. I want that.
During dry season in Florida, when all the grass was like knee high, my sister decided she wanted to do a bonfire. After repeatedly being told no by both parents, my sister started a bonfire. She had piled up palmetto leaves, and those burned super, super fast. So I had to run around in my brand new sneakers and, stomp out the fire that was spreading through the grass and spreading through the yard, and run around until I stomped it all out. And I think that sums up me and my sister's relationship and roles in the family. So it's still going on. I'm still putting out fires, but
That's great. That's a good metaphor.
I have a memory of fire, and that was when I was either 4 or 5 years old, and my family was renting a farm, not the farm, but the farmhouse north of Edwardsburg, Michigan. And my little brother and I, somehow or other, I got a hold of some matches. My little brother and I went into the barn and I lit some straw or hay on fire. And I don't know how my older brother and mom knew about that, whether we ran in and told them, but that memory never leaves my mind. And I always accuse my little brother of starting it, just to harass him.
I'm sure we all have campfire experiences in your youth, especially if you was in a youth group of some kind. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Geneele?
Phil and I have had 2 house fires, both of which required us to move out of the house while everything was being fixed. Our losses were actually small in terms of losing things. There's just a lot of destruction. But I grew up around wonderful experiences with fire. Not a fireplace. I was 9 years old before Santa ever came to see us because we didn't have a chimney. But campfires, camping, church events, and making candle holders and brownies. And so there were lots and lots of wonderful experiences with fire. And as horrible as the house fires were, they weren't devastating. I guess because I was introduced to fire in a friendly way, and I learned how to understand it. And it was never out to get me, it just was itself. I also grew up around tornadoes, and I'm not afraid of them either.
Anybody else? Okay. Linda?
I don't remember the exact details, but there was a horrible school fire in Chicago in the 60s. I believe it was a Catholic school, and the kids could not get out. And to this day, when I walk in a room, I'm looking for the exits. Wow. Very important.
Have you ever been to Estes Park? I'm sure you have.
Yes, but it's been a
Yeah.
while.
And the National Youth Conference when I was in high school was out there. So, and there was a theme of Temper My Spirit, but I thought more of Fire and Flame with that theme. Anybody else? Randy?
I have a few, actually. When I was a kid, I used to love to play with fire, and we had an electric stove. So one time I caught a toilet paper roll on fire, threw it out the bathroom window, which I didn't know landed on the box that was leaning against the house. Those siding pieces were never replaced. When we lived in Michigan, we had an electrical fire that started in the closet in the ceiling, and smoke was coming out the other end of the building. We were in the middle of it. This was like 9 or 10 units. So we were moved to another apartment. And then we tried to buy a manufactured home. Somebody had caught the trash bins on fire, which completely destroyed the deck and just breached the house. That the insurance just wrote that off. Then when we lived over here, actually, we had an outlet that was shorting out and was red hot. Couldn't figure out where the fish smell was coming from, so remember that. If you smell fish for no apparent reason, check your outlets.
Did you say fish? Wow. Did not know that.
Okay, is that it? Thank you all for sharing. No. Yeah, after the hymn, remain standing for the benediction, and then You can be seated and listen to Chariots of Fire. We'll be singing 4 verses, 1, 2, 4, and 5 of this hymn, 274. You'll know the tune, but we've never sung it in the congregation that I know of. So, Dear Mother, Father of us all, number 274, stand and sing if you're willing and able. Dear Mother.
Beloved UU community, may you go from this space lit, alive, awake with flames of faith. Amen.